And hello once more, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to episode 64 of A Druid's Dozen. Yep, my name's John. Some people call me the Rock Druid, and I'm a radio DJ. Got a couple of radio shows. There's the Sunday Rock Show on BCFM radio in Bristol, and the Rock Druid on astroradio.earth. Links are going to be down in the description down there and over there, depending on whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube or whatever. You know where they are. Anyway, this is basically me raiding my record collection. I've been collecting for many years, and just kind of dragging out some items thereof and waiting in front of the camera and chatting to about them for a few minutes. But before we start, I want to say hello to a few people. Muttley, Maya, and Sandy, and all the other people that I met down at the Cyteria and Adam and the Hellcats gig in Bristol last week. Got to meet you and have a chat with you about some various bits and pieces, and was that not a cracking show? Got to say, big up the Scar Sun, the opening band as well. 3 great bands doing amazing performances. One of the best gigs I've been to in many years. And I'm not just saying that because it's the first gig I've been to as a punter since the end of lockdown, but it was just a cracking night. And if you miss those 3 bands on this tour, catch them next time they're in your town. They're great. But anyway, shall we get on with today's selection? Why not? And I'll whip this out. Better get me glasses as well. There we go. Different glasses today. I have quite a few sets of these. Or a bit. Need a bit of a polish. Yeah. Okay. Right, now we're ready. We're going to kick off with a bit of this. T.Rex, the Slider. 1971, 72, something like that. There's the front. There is the back. Pull this out. Lyrics and credits. There's the side 1. There's side 2. Whip out the disc. There we are. Originally my T.Rex blue label. We actually have a run out groove message. Basil equals Sally Cockatiel. I don't know, I couldn't read that one. The Mad Man and something else on that side as well. Anyway, yeah. After weeks of looking, I found one. Anyway, this 1972, this album, T.Rex's 3rd album as T.Rex after the slight lineup change and the sort of like reduction, of the band's name to T.Rex from Tyrannosaurus Rex. And one of the 2 albums that marks their high point of their career. The follow-up to Electric Warrior, and this one contains 2 of their massive hits. There's Metal Guru and Telegram San on here, along with let's have a look, other classic tracks on this. Ballrooms of Mars, The Rabbit Fighter, Main Man, Rock On, Spaceball Ricochet, the Slider itself, Mystic Lady, all cracking stuff. And it's a pretty good album. The problem with it is, there is one slight problem, it does. T.Rex are always abandoned Tyrannosaurus Rex. Yeah, Mark Bowden was always a guy that kind of, in the earlier days, liked to push boundaries, liked to experiment a bit. And this album comes over, when you listen to it, as basically as a rehash of Electric Warrior. There's not a great, it almost is Electric Warrior Part 2. And there's nothing wrong with that. Electric Warrior is a great album, as is this. But it does make, my missus is a massive T.Rex fan. And she said this was the album that made her think, well, maybe he's running out of ideas. And, you know, although T.Rex went on to produce some other albums, they never really hit that T.Rex Electric Warrior height again. And this one. But overall, it's a pretty sweet album. Bowden's on fine form, both as a performer and a songwriter. The production, which is that Chris Costelli, whatever his name is. Tony Viscotti, that's right. Tony Viscotti's production, you know, he always did wonders with T.Rex. And photography is by Ringo Starr of the Beatles, of all people. Yeah, it's a good album. If you're collecting T.Rex or want to get into T.Rex, I will recommend it. Although, personally, I do prefer Electric Warrior to this, but still quite sweet. So, T.Rex, the slider, pretty damn good. Okay, next up, we're going to stay around about the same year. I think this one was 72 as well. Yeah, 1972. Here we go, another classic. Alice Cooper, Skulls Out. There's the front. This is obviously this is a CD reissue, remaster job. There's the back of the track listing. Pop this open. There is the disc. There's football on telly in the background. Man City women versus Everton women. We got this little thing here, the Alice Cooper collection, which tells you all of Alice Cooper's discography that was available up until when this came out, including some of the rarer stuff like Dada, which is one of my favourite Alice Cooper albums. Whip out the booklet. It's not a booklet as such, it's just a basic yeah, that's just the back there, and you have got some minimalistic sleeve notes. Yeah, but very minimalistic and not very informative, and a bit more detailed track listing. Hasn't even got a personnel lineup on it. Anyway, Alice Cooper's international breakthrough album contains the massive hit and probably his best known track, Skulls Out, the title cut. One that I've been in trouble for mothers for playing just kind of at the end of August when they're looking at, or being the end of July when all the kids are coming home from school. So this is for all the parents out there, and span Skulls Out, and then had emails of complaint from listeners on various radio shows saying, you don't know what it's like having kids under my feet all the summer. Oh, well, you know what I mean. I played it for the kids, not for the parents. But anyway, but there's a lot more to this album than just the big well-known title cut. My favourite Alice Cooper track of all time, Public Animal Number 9, lurks on here. Gutter Cats versus the Jets, Alma Mater, Blue Turk, Looney Tune. It's just great. It's off the wall, it's slightly anarchic, it's kind of rebellious, good old rock and roll. Alice Cooper's got on fine form. The rest of the band knock it out of the park. Bob Ezrin's production is to die for. Just a classic album. Marks the start of a string of great albums from Alice Cooper that includes things like Welcome to My Nightmare, $1 Billion Baby, etc. And if you just love a bit of good hard rock, I recommend this for everybody. Yeah, Alice Cooper, Schools Out, 1972. Damn fine record. And talking of damn fine records, let's finish up a trilogy of damn fine records with this one. 1977. Actually, 1978 it came out, recorded in 77, released in 78. Mother's Finest, Another Mother Further. There's the front. There is the back. Don't know what that 54 stickers on there. I brought this second hand many years ago. Never did work out what that was. Whip this out. There's no inner sleeve or anything on here. But there's the disc. Epic Records, orange label. And again, just catalogue numbers on the run out grooves. Now, Mother's Finest are a band that I've got a lot of respect for, and you know, these guys are, you know, many people may not realise it, but probably one of the most important bands in the history of rock and roll. They were one of the first all-black proper rock bands. Up until then, you know, you couldn't be black and play rock and roll. Well, there was a few exceptions, obviously, you know, like Chuck Berry and Jimi Hendrix, but, you know, normally by the 70s, if you were black, you were soul, funk, disco, and you could only be white and play rock and roll. Mother's Finest said, you know, below that, and set out their own kind of stall, where they kind of, yes, they brought in elements of funk and traditional, what we'll call black music, but also overlaid it with some gloriously heavy rock. Really kind of kicking open doors, you know, crossing genres, and generally flying the flag for great music and anti-racism, etc. And really kind of making rock music far more open and accessible to various other cultures, other than your typical kind of working class or, you know, white, whatever. Anyway, this album is, there's a couple of albums before this, because they've been active since the very early 70s. A couple of albums before this, which I've got to admit I've heard but haven't got. But this is the one, to me, which really kind of, where Mother's Finest arrive in fine style. You got cuts on here. Opening track, Mickey's Monkey, which is kind of, sounds like Deep Purple jamming with, actually the whole album sounds a bit like maybe Deep Purple jamming with Parliament, but or Aerosmith joining in as well in places. Still got the kind of heavy funk backing, but you know, there's some fantastic guitar riffing, some superb solo work, and overall just makes for a great hard rock album. The opening cut, Mickey's Monkey, lays out the story in fine style, and it just goes on. Baby Love, Thank You for the Love, Piece of Rock, Truth Will Set You Free. My favourite cut on the album, which is a bit of a kind of tongue-in-cheek parody to those that said black people can't play rock and roll. Disco this way, disco that way. Also a kind of side swipe at the fact that some people just took one look at the band and thought they were a disco band. It just kind of rips the piss. And then the closing cut, Hard Rock Lover, an out-and-out headbanger. Not the heaviest album Mother's Finest have done. On one of my earlier editions of this vlog, I look at their album, Black Radio Won't Play This Record, which is an intensely heavy record. Not quite as heavy as this. Like I said, you're looking at Deep Purple, Aerosmith levels of heaviness, but it's still a damn good rock record. Joyce Baby Jean Kennedy has got a voice to die for. You got guitar, Moses Moe on guitar, absolutely shreds. Oh, no, sorry, Glenn Bailey and Murdoch on guitars, Moses Mose the bass player. Sorry, I couldn't read the back thing. So many musicians, so many bands. They always slip out of my mind something. But anyway, the guitars are heavy. The rhythm section just grooves. Tight as a Dutch arse, as I got misinterpreted the other day. But anyway, this is absolutely storming. If you've not heard Mother's Finest, do yourself a favour, check them out. This album's as good a place to start as any, but they're all pretty damn good. But yeah, Mother's Finest, another Mother Further, 1977, corker. Okay, I'll throw you a curveball now. Here's this one. This is 5, The Grey Chapter by Slipknot. There is the front. There is the back. Pop this open. There is behind the disc. There is the disc. There is a print on there, but it's quite... Oh, if you turn it in the light, it shines through a little bit. Yeah, like that, yeah. Whip out the booklet. There is the... so there's the front again. There's the Slipknot family photo. And you've got lyrics, individual band photographs leading up to the credits, etc. Yeah. Now, I'll admit, hand on heart, I don't know much about Slipknot. They're a band. I only possess 2 of their albums. I've got Iowa and I've got this one. Don't dislike them. I think they're quite cool. I think they're quite groovy. And, you know, they do pick up radio airplay for me from time to time. But they're never a band that I've really got into exploring. Maybe I should. And maybe I should learn a bit more about them, because apart from the name and the fact that I like some of their music, not really paid them that much attention, to be honest with you. I think it's because they're one of these bands that's kind of, you know, they're very much in the mainstream, and I've always have been more of an underground type music fan. You know, I prefer the obscure bands no other one's heard of, you know, for various reasons, you know. Maybe it's because I like quieter, intimate gigs. You know, yeah, festival stadiums are fine, but, you know, give me a greasy club or a small pub and a couple of bands giving it right on stage. That's my element. And, you know, maybe the fact that because on the radio shows I tend to kind of champion the underground bands that, you know, the major radio stations won't touch, and, you know, bands like Slipknot, you know, they're Kerrang FM fodder, etc. So they don't need any extra radio airplay from me. Whereas some of these other bands, like one of the next bands coming up in a couple of albums' time, do. So I don't tend to give them that much airplay. Well, from time to time if I get requested. But, you know, overall, just looking at this album through kind of my naive Slipknot, not very enthused eyes, or not very aware eyes, this is pretty good. There's cuts on here that do jump out. There's Sarcastrophe, which is the second track on there. Lovely, really like the lyrics on that one. Some nice interesting wordplay. Nomadic, the one that kills the least, Custer, Kill Pop. It's all pretty good. It's sweet, it's heavy, it's you know, quite intense in places, and you know, very, very powerful and kind of air punchy and that kind of thing. I should really pay more attention to Slipknot, I suppose. I'll tell you what, loads of you that know your Slipknot, in the comments down there or over there, recommend me a couple of albums. Like I said, I've got this, I've got Iowa, where should I go next? recommend me something to get my hands on and give a listen to. But yeah, this one came out in 2014. Yeah, 5, the Grey Chapter, Slipknot. Pretty good. And a complete change of gear next. We'll have this. This is the Enid live at Hammersmith Volume 2. If I remember, there's the front, there's the back. If I remember rightly, this was recorded in 1979, but wasn't actually released until 82, I think, something like that. Because the old Enid ran into record company problems. It doesn't actually say on the disc when it came out. Anyway, there's the disc itself, Enid's own label. Oh, we have another. Bass the E on that side, and bass tape 1 on that side. Or actually bass tape probably on that side, yeah. But anyway, those of you that don't know, the Enid, British symphonic progressive rock band, formed around the keyboard player Robert John Godfrey, ex Barclay James Harvest bloke, and joined on here by people like guitarist Licorice Lockin and Stephen Stewart, sorry. And you know, never a hugely well-known band, very much a cult underground thing. And I've got to admit, they're not exactly the most successful of the bands. They do tend to sound like listening to a orchestral piece. I've seen them live. Live, it's like an orchestral concert rather than a rock concert. But don't let that take away from some great music. These were talented guys, very, very talented guys. This particular album, Live at Hammersmith Volume 2, regretfully, I have not got Volume 1. It's a hole in my collection. I keep meaning to try and plug at some point. They recorded as a double live album in 1979, but around about the time they lost their record deal with EMI Records, and it took them a year or two to set up their own label, Enid Records, and and they eventually released it as 2 parts because they didn't have the finances to bring it out as a double album. Although the CD reissue, or reissues, it's been done a couple of times, are out as a single item, just live at Hammersmith. But anyway, this represents the second half of the gig. Includes kind of the tracks, well, it is the tracks Mayday, Galliard, Humoresque, Cortege, Albion Fair, and Encore. Encore includes is a kind of jammed kind of mix up of Land of Hope and Glory, Pomp and Circumstance #1, and the Dam Busters March, which is quite fun. But it's kind of quite good. I mean, you got Mayday, Galliard's a kind of hippie, trippy, kind of very sort of folk influenced stuff. Albion Fair, big, mighty kind of symphonic epic, just really impressive music. So the Enid are a hard band to really get into at times, but if you like your prog and you like you've got dabblings in liking of orchestral music, I do recommend it. So yeah, 1982, I believe, the Enid Live at Hammersmith Volume 1. Okay, next up, we'll have one of the smaller bands that I do believe needs to be championed. More of the sort of stuff that I play on here. Here we go, there's the front. This is Ruined Landscape by Empatic. And this came out in, I shall have to have a look on the inside. I can't quite see. Anyway, there's the front. There's the back of the box. Pop this open. There's the disc. That's what's going on behind the disc. Pull this out. 2014. There's a better look at the front cover. And then we have lyrics. Lyrics. Various other info, and on the back there, band photo and album credits. Now, Empatic are Polish, band out of Poland, and there's some really Poland's since the fall of communism, actually since before the fall of communism, Poland was beginning to sort of like put out some pretty good extreme metal. I mean, again, one of the early episodes of this vlog from about a year ago, I look at an album by a band called Destroyers, who were kind of playing secret gigs in cellars and knocking out a pretty good album on sort of like smuggled equipment, etc., under the noses of the communist regime. But anyway, since the fall of communism in Poland, Polish metal's kind of exploded, and rock music in Poland has exploded. The Poles do love their rock. I have quite a few Polish friends. Most of them are metalheads. But anyway, the form of music that the Polish metalers seem to embrace more than anything else is the extreme black and death stuff. Some of them have better names like Baphomet, Vader, etc., CRex. All great stuff. And to that list, you can add a Gdansk band, Empatic. 5-piece band, ear-meltingly intense, absolute, heavy as hell, and not very subtle with it, but in a good way. Classic metal band. Highlights on this one include the title cut, Ruined Landscape, Oblivion's Path, probably my favourite cut on the album. Other points, Countenance of Fear, Valley of Shadows, The Ambush, all absolutely storming music. You got, which I think the bloke's name, I'll have to look him up. Yeah, Magic, I'm going to apologise if I'm murdering your name, mate, but Magish Rajowski, a guy that can death grunt like a bastard. The guitars, Takim Nareski and Plejumlor Kazaks. Again, I apologise for murdering the names. I cannot speak Polish. Absolute diamonds. These guys can churn out riffs that can kind of are so intensely heavy they collapse under their own gravity. Overall, just damn good. If you like it heavy, you like it metal, you like it black, Empatic's Ruined Landscape 2014. Intense stuff indeed. Okay, next up, we're going to have something to surprise you. Well, those of you that have seen these before, because I've waved out at least 2 albums by these guys around in the past, but we'll have this. Blackvale Brides by Blackvale Brides from, again, 2014. There is the front. There is the back. Nothing behind the disc. There is the disc. And pull this out. lyrics, band photo, more lyrics, and credits. Now, what can I say about Blackvale Brides? Well, they're one of these bands that, because of their image, because of their sound, because of the way they were marketed, or they marketed themselves, you know, they kind of appealed to the kind of emo chick, and a lot of kind of more serious rockers never took them that seriously. My missus liked them when I first met my missus, and it was her that made me sit down and go, no, seriously, because I was going, oh, Blackvale Brides, I've heard of them, look at them. And she goes, no, listen to them. So she sat me down and made me listen to the first album, which is We Stitch These Wounds, I think. Anyway, blew me away. Absolutely storming record. We then went out and picked up their second album that just come out, which was Set the World on Fire. We went and picked that one up and loved it. And then a couple of years later, out came The Wretched and Divine, their third album, again superb. And those three albums are absolutely brilliant, some of the best rock albums of the last 10, 15 years. Tellingly, around about the time the first album came out, Andy Biersack, the lead singer and main man of the band, turned around and said, well, I've got 3 albums in me. I've got this idea for my career, it's going to involve 3 albums. And sure, 3 great albums. You've got, so We Stitch These Wounds, full of kind of underground, angry, emo, sodden teen angst. Set the World on Fire, a album that Kiss could have been proud of, full of air punchy anthems, songs of rebellion, songs of, you know, just a real powerful, uplifting album. The Wretched and Divine, a deeply introspective hard rock work, almost prog rock in places. Really shows the bands out as being fine musicians. And then this came out, and what a friggin' disappointment. Yeah, they have 3 albums in them and nothing else. This album is tragically naff. I mean, it's competent, it's well played, but the songs aren't there, the performances aren't there, and it's kind of just hollow, empty. It's a hollow, empty shell of the sort of stuff this band were doing over their first 3 releases. I can't even pick out a favourite track on here because they're all just Devil in the Mirror. If someone rammed a gun in my face and said pick a track to play off this album or I'll shoot you, you know, but to be honest with you, I'd rather take the bullet and play something off one of the other 3 albums, off one of the earlier 3 albums. A disappointment. It annoyed me that much that I haven't really picked up anything by the Blackvale Brides since. I've heard a few tracks. They've got a couple of albums that came out after this. I heard a few bits and pieces off them, and it's a BVB by numbers. It's disappointingly disappointing. Yeah, shame, because they were a band that had a lot of promise, and they have left 3 amazing records. If you don't believe me, go check them out. You know, I'm not saying this with any irony. Those first 3 albums are great, but anything after that, from this one onwards, I wouldn't touch with yours, let alone mine. Yeah, shame, but that's the way it goes. Burnout, sell out, whatever you want to call it, but Blackvale Brides, definitely in the has-been file, in my opinion. Okay, well, that's something a bit rare and obscure. This is 0 Day by Nevada Beach from 1990. There's the front. There's the back. Whip this out, another thing there. Lyrics and credits on that side. Slide this out, there we go, Metal Blade Records, there's the disc. And no running out groove messages, just catalogue numbers. Nevada Beach. Now I can't remember exactly where these were from. Album was recorded in LA, but not sure exactly. I'm not sure if these guys are actually Californian or not. But anyway, this is their second of their albums. They only did two. Oh, I have got the other one around somewhere. And these were kind of in the sort of like tail end of the sort of American hair metal glam movement, you know, kind of one of the last bands to kind of appear after kind of you know, hair metal was definitely on the out, you know, things like grunge was coming in, and you know, these guys just showed up at the wrong time. It's a shame because these guys are pretty damn good actually. So I've got both their albums. Both the albums are pretty hot. This one, not sure it's better than the first one, but I still like it loads. You got cuts like Rough House, Waiting for an Angel, Zero Day itself, Back for Blood, The Walking the Dead, The Big Zero, Gagged and Bound, the closing cut. Everyone's pretty damn sweet. Great vocals from a guy called Hank Decken, sorry. Also, as a bit of a guitar player, you got other guitars from Jeff Stafford, and then you got the rhythm section of John Murphy on drums and Tony Rivers on bass. Superb unit. They really work well together, and they can bang out some pretty decent tunes. Sadly, as I said, they just came along at the wrong time. Had these guys been, I swear, if these guys had been 5 years earlier and sort of like came out along the same time as Rat and Poison, these guys could have been up there with them as absolute hair gods. Sadly, you know, they came out with when the kids are beginning to get into Soundgarden and Nirvana and Pearl Jam, and consequently, they missed their chance. They do get, the band have been long broken up, although I was looking on various kind of fan sites and that, and they occasionally get together for a one-off reunion show, and they did kind of repackage both their albums and some various outtakes and unreleased tracks in about 2016 into a kind of double CD compilation work, which is, I haven't got it, but it's still available should you want to pick it up, because vinyl copies of the album are pretty obscure. But you know, if you like your hair, you like your glam, you like your kind of you know, that kind of music, go give them a check out. You'll probably like. Yeah, Nevada Beach, Zero Day, 1990. Okay, next up, nu metal. Yeah, King 810 and Memoirs of a Murder, their debut album. There is the front. It's a digipack that folds out like that. There is the disc. There is band pictures and that kind of thing. Quite nicely put together, that montage. Whip out the booklet. Well, actually, it's not a booklet. It's one of these fold-out jobbies. It's more of a Yeah, if I was into a poster, there's all the lyrics and repeated the artwork on there. Now, King 810, new metal revivalists, I don't know. When did this album come out? I think this is 2008. I may be wrong. Round about then anyway. Yeah, new metal, rap metal, whatever you want to call it. And this is their debut album. It's quite good. It's quite intense. It's quite kind of in your face. It's kind of, you know, full of kind of angsty inner city teen anger. Highlights on here. There's Murder, Murder, Murder. Take It. Boogeyman, The Devil Don't Cry. Where are we? Right About a State of Nature. All good stuff. You know, it's kind of post Linkin Park, post Papa Roach kind of new metal. It's okay. I'm not the biggest new metal fan, but you know, I can appreciate it when it's done well. And this, I'll admit, is done well. However, since this album came out, King 810 are taking the rap bad boy image a little bit too far. Various members have been arrested and convicted for firing shots at the police. They've been involved in petty crime, and then most recently, earlier this year, they decided to join Donald Trump and storm the Capitol building. Yeah, definitely trying to take the bad boy image too far. You know, I mean, I'm not saying don't walk it as you talk it, but you know, come on, insurgencies, gun crime. You know, that's that's activities for the brain dead. Shame, because you know, if they'd just concentrated on writing great music, they could have been a great band. But you know, they left a kind of one album that's pretty good, which is this one. Another album that's kind of iffy because it was written under a sort of like tense background of arrests and trials for firearms offences, etc. And now kind of they're sort of like dropped in as a bunch of neo-fascists, anti-democratic dickheads. Yeah, if you don't agree with what I said, bite me. But yeah, shame. A band throwing away potential, and I hate that. So King 810, get this album, but nothing else, in my opinion. Although it's your choice. Okay, next up we'll have something. We'll have an EP, was it 12-inch single? I'll call it an EP because the tracks off this aren't available anywhere else apart from compilation albums. Here we go. This is Isn't It Funny How Your Body Works by Nitzer. There's the front. There's the back. Flip this out. Only catalogue numbers and IDs on that. And there's the disc itself. 4-track, 12-inch single, stroke EP. Came out in 1983, I think. 84. Debut release from this band. Band out of London. And these guys are one of these bands you may not heard of. You know, I found this. Actually, I got given this by someone a good few years ago, and I didn't really know what I had. And then, a good few years later, I did some research and went, oh, bloody hell. Despite the fact that these guys are pretty damn obscure, they are what a really influential band. You won't have heard of these, but the bands that have been inspired by them and call them sort of big influences, you would have heard of. For a start, they're kind of early sort of synth rock, industrial rock, very synth driven. They've got guitarists and that, but it's very kind of early synths and samples and loops in the very early days of that kind of genre. And it was this band that went on to inspire acts like Attrition and KMFDM, whatever they're called, and you know, yeah, We Butter Bread with Butter, all those kind of bands. All quote these as being hugely influential, massively influential on the goth scene as well, inspiring kind of acts such as Wayne Hussey from Sisters of Mercy said that the industrial sound that he was aiming for on the Floodland album was inspired by Nitzer. And then later goth bands like Lesbian Bed Death, etc., and some of the later work of Alien Sex Fiend, very much inspired by these. Then there's also the kind of you know, some of the rave culture bands like the Shaman, etc., Propeller Heads, the Beta Band, all quote Nitzer as being part of where it all started. And even some of the German Neue Deutsche Harte movement, you know, bands like Rammstein and Megahertz and Schallmann. Again, Nitzer are seen as one of their big influences. Great. I haven't heard a great deal of their stuff. I've got this is the only physical thing I've got. I've got another one of their albums on MP3, and I like what I hear. As they get more and more rave and more dancey as they go on, so I tend to lose a bit of interest towards their later period stuff. But the early stuff, when it's pure kind of gothic industrial rocktronic, I am well into. And it's powerful. They actually write songs that mean something. There's 4 tracks on here. Isn't it funny how your body works, The Way You Live, Crane, Cold War. The songs have got political lyrics, observant political lyrics, rather than kind of coming down on one side. Just very observant band. And some of the imagery they used to use, both live and on their sleeves, etc., you know, backs up that kind of cutting edge kind of, this is what rock's about. It's about being underground and anarchic and, you know, art, etc. Yeah, I don't know. This is going to be available on various compilation albums. So this is an original vinyl press. Don't know how. This is fairly collectible actually, but it's not going to be unobtainable. And it is available as an MP3 download. So yeah, isn't it funny how your body works? 12-inch EP by Nitzer, 1984. Groundbreaking stuff. Okay, our final CD of the day is this one. This is Bittersweet Succubi by Cradle of Filth. And this is technically an EP, even though it's got 10 tracks on it. And my thing is, this is more than 5 tracks, it's an album, but anyway, there's the front. There's the back. There is a story behind this, which I'll tell you in a second. Crack this open. There's the behind the disc bit. There is the disc. Whip this out. Come on, come on, come on. There we come. There we go. And typical kind of death black metal kind of stuff. Oh, there's some Cradle of Filth photos, various artwork, lyrics. This is a CD enhanced version. I think there's a video on here somewhere as well if you bang it into a video, into a player. Yeah, so lyrics and artwork, etc. Anyway, this album dates from, he said, trying to remember, 2001. and it dates for the time when Cradle of Filth had just lost their record deal, or they were changing labels, sorry, and they decided to bang out a 3-track EP. The first 3 tracks, which are Sin Deep My Wicked Angel, All Hope in Eclipse, and Born in a Burial Gown, are the 3 tracks they recorded. And they're kind of heavy-ish, kind of, well, yeah, it's Cradle of Filth. It's kind of classic, kind of big, intense, kind of gothic black metal. Well, then they decided to go on a little bit of a recording session, recording 3 earlier songs. I can't remember which ones are which. And then No Time to Cry, Sisters of Mercy cover, and then chucked in some other bits and pieces they had knocking around in the studio, some outtake tracks, etc. And lo and behold, what started out as an EP developed into a full-blown album-length job. It's pretty good because it's kind of got that kind of way it came together. It's not a coherent album. It does sound a bit bitty in places, and unless you're into Cradle of Filth, it isn't exactly kind of very typical of what they do, you know, because a lot of Cradle of Filth albums are sprawling epic concept works, and this isn't. This is a bit of a kind of bitty here and there album, but it's still damn good, still well played, still love the performances. Old Danny Filth on fine form, the rest of the band sweet as a nut. Yeah, not much else to say really. My favourite cut, I suppose, yeah, Born in a Burial Gown, has to be. But overall, it's all pretty damn fine. Yeah, 2001, the Bittersweet to the Succubi EP that's not. Well, it leads me on to our final one. Here we go. There's the front. This is Future Games, A Magical Kahuna Dream by Spirit. Or is it? I'll let you know in a minute. Anyway, there's the front. Randy California with his guitar around his neck. There's the back. Randy California with his bare chest out. Whip this out. No inner sleeve or anything. 1977, Mercury Records. Only catalogue number on the run out groove. Now, again, another band that I've dealt with a couple of times on these vlogs. I talked about, a good few episodes ago, I talked about Seven Dreams of Dr. Sardonicus, one of their early albums, and I think I've also covered the band that played together, stayed together. But anyway, Spirit, kind of classic American psychedelic rock band, bit proggy in places, string of great albums throughout the early 70s. Culminating in the album before this, Spirit of 76, came out in 1976, the American bicentennial year. Then the band began to kind of fragment to a certain extent. To the point where by the time they released this album in 1977, it's effectively a Randy California solo album. Input from the other members of the band are very few and far between. Randy California, apart from the drums, does most of the work, all the keyboards, all the guitars, all the basses, most of the vocals, and it's not bad. I'll give it that. Randy California, is a talented geezer, and he does a fine job. But whereas you used to have kind of kind of other members putting their input into the band, giving it more of a diverse tapestry, this is more single-minded. It comes over as a bit like a kind of follow-up to The Spirit of 76. Musically, it treads the same ground in places, a bit like the CRex album we started with. But overall, it's not bad. There's a pretty good cover of Bob Dylan's All Along the Watchtower, which is a song that's haunting me at the moment. It seems to be on every TV programme I play or I watch. But, you know, it's not bad. You got, yeah, and it's got the kind of typical, the tracks are broken up with little kind of inserts like the Romlan Experience and, you know, Interlude FM, etc. But, you know, highlights on here: Freak Out Frog, Journey of the Nomad. I said, I mentioned the All on the Watchtower covered. The Kahuna Dream itself. It's all pretty good. But it's not the best Spirit album. It's a damn good Randy California solo album, but as a Spirit album, I find it a bit lacking. So if you want to explore the world of Spirit, go to something like the 12 Dreams of Dr. Sardonicus, or the Band That Play Together, Stay Together, or even the Spirit of 76, and you'll get a far more coherent listen than this album. Although once you familiarise yourself with the early Spirit stuff, this is a good one to then pick up. Yeah, so Spirit, Future Games, A Magical Kahuna Dream, 1977. So that's it for this week, people. I hope you've enjoyed what I laid out before you. I welcome your comments. I'm getting some nice chats going on both here and on Facebook about the albums. Am I wrong about the Blackvale Brides? You know, was I wrong about them to like them in the first place? I think not. But, you know, have they done anything since? Because since that album I've talked about here, I've not really paid them that much attention. So should I give them another chance? Spirit, Randy California. Opinions, please. Yeah, how influential to you were Nitzer Ebb? Yeah, all this and more. I would like to hear all your opinions. So comments are down there on YouTube. They're over there on Facebook. Well, Mrs. calls this bit the finger dance. She complains if I don't do it. And then if you're on Facebook and on YouTube, like and share and subscribe or follow if so you know when the next one's coming out. But normally it's these videos get a Saturday release on YouTube and then a Thursday or Friday re-upload to Facebook. So yeah, but anyway, check out the radio shows, and until next week, peeps, thanks for watching, loves you all, and bye.